Mr. Speaker, they promised stability. They delivered stagnation. They promised the next generation a fair shot. They've delivered them a sentence to slow growth and high costs. And that might sound like economist speak, but here is the real human cost of that. As Canadians walk into grocery stores, they see that since March, when the Prime Minister was elected on the promise that he would be judged by the prices at the grocery store, strawberries are up 25%, beef sirloin up 25%, beef stew up 20%, coffee 20%, chicken and drumsticks up 17%, salad dressing another 17%, pork ribs 15%, chicken thighs 14%, even basic mushrooms 13%. Canadians are not eating gourmet, Madam Speaker. In fact, many of them are not eating some days at all. A recent survey and study done by a food bank association demonstrated that over 10% of Canadians are now skipping meals for an entire day because they cannot afford to eat. Food bank usage tells the story. It has doubled since 2019 when this Prime Minister became the economic advisor to his predecessor. 1 in 5 Canadians who go to a food bank have a job, but their paycheck doesn't buy them food. And while the Liberals keep telling us that they're going to bring in a school food program, since they made that promise, children going to food banks have doubled to 700,000 a year. A month. 700,000 children a month are relying on food banks. And hanging over every farm, every factory, every trucker who moves goods, every person who has anything in a modern civilized life is the massive and growing industrial carbon tax. Yes, it is still there. It's true, the government has paused the visible carbon tax thanks to Conservative pressure. But they have maintained and in this budget decided to increase the industrial carbon tax, which punishes those who produce food and those who build homes. Let me quote directly from the food professor who warned, "It's not gone. The industrial carbon tax, the worst part, is still there. Only the consumer portion was reduced to zero. Processors and growers shoulder heavy costs. The industrial carbon tax remains. Pay attention. It continues to erode competitiveness in the agri-food sector. And most damning of all, the U.S. produces food more efficiently and more cheaply than we do. The cost gap is growing, not shrinking. When experts are practically begging the government to stop harming food production with high taxes on every aspect of the food chain, then this is a matter of ideology, not of human need. And let us be very clear what this tax actually is. It is a levy on the steel and the tractor that rolls across our fields. Every grain dryer that preserves and dries the harvest, every greenhouse heater that helps vegetables grow in the winter, every truck that ships food from farm to table, every bag of fertilizer, every pallet of lumber, every sack of cement, every pound of steel, every piece of rebar, every roofing truss, and every load of drywall becomes more expensive when you apply a carbon tax on the things the Canadians make. It might be a well-concealed tax, but it is an extremely expensive tax, one that the Prime Minister plans to more than double over the next several years and keep increasing even after that. It is no wonder, therefore, that the government is actually increasing food prices in Canada at faster rate than in the United States. Now, it's not just food, it's housing. The carbon tax applies, the industrial carbon tax applies on everything that housing makes. And to give a little bit of chump change back to a very small number of people who happen to meet the exact and highly limited definition, the government has provided a unworkable GST rebate, only going to first-time buyers who buy new homes. Here's the problem with that. The Venn diagram of new buyer and new home is next to nothing. New buyers typically buy resale homes. Those never had taxes on them in the first place. Typically, new homes are bought by second, third, fourth, and fifth-time home buyers because, of course, new homes are more expensive, and you have to have already been in the market. So the Prime Minister has successfully engineered a rebate that 95% of Canadians are ineligible to receive. It's basically worthless to almost all of the people of the country. Meanwhile, he made a promise that he would help the municipalities cut their development taxes in half. That promise goes unkept. And so today, in this province of Ontario, 30% of the cost of a new home is taxes, taxes, and taxes. And the Prime Minister has not removed or eliminated those taxes despite the promise that he made in the election. And let me quote, therefore, Scott Anderson, Chief Executive Officer of the Ontario Home Builders Association, and I quote, "The government's inaction will put 40,000 jobs in Ontario at risk, from architects and engineers to trades and sub-trades across the residential construction sector. The estimated direct and indirect economic impact from these job losses on Ontario's economy is $5.3 billion. Meanwhile, our tradespeople are losing their jobs because homes are not getting built. Home building is collapsing after the Prime Minister promised that he would double it. Yesterday's budget makes the problem worse. We're failing to remove the taxes that were already there while piling on the new and more expensive industrial carbon tax.